Namaste, welcome back to our channel Ayurveda 360. So, in continuation with the induction program series, today we are going to see a direct subject related talk, that is Samhita Adhyayan. So, in the first professional BMS earlier there was only Ashtanga Hridayam as the independent subject, that to Sudrasthana part. Now the NCASM has changed the syllabus slightly, that is the Sutrasthana of Ashtanga Hridayam is kept only half of the portion, that is first to 15, and then Charak Samhita is added. Now in this video we are going to see what is the need of keeping Ashtanga Hridayam for a first professional BMS student. So watch this video till the end. After watching this video, definitely I can guarantee that you will be much more confident as well as you will be much more curious in learning each chapter of Ashtanga Hridayam, that is Sutrasthana. Ashtanga Hridayam is one such subject. Sutrasthana being having 30 chapters. So basically the whole of Ayurveda, what you can see in Charaka Samhita and even on the other authors, they have mentioned the three Sutri Ayurveda, that is Hetu, Linga and Aushadha part. So Hetu being the Nidana, that is the Nidana Panchaka. As soon as the patient enters the clinic, what are the questions we are going to ask him? What are the things he is going to tell us? What are the things we are going to assist like signs? So, and what are the medicines we are going to prescribe? So this is the usual protocol which we follow in the clinical practice. In this clinical practice, the first part, that is Hetu, is analyzing the Nidana, that is the cause which is responsible for the disease manifested in that patient. So you usually ask these questions to find out regarding the Hetu, like what time did you sleep yesterday, what kind of food did you have, last few weeks did you go out, or something like that. All these questions, or the patient himself will certain times tell you regarding certain allergies of the food, maybe regarding certain activities which led to a particular incident, maybe walking and then he just fell off and then he had a joint pain. So these kind of questions as well as the information given by the patient helps us to analyze the cause for the disease, that is considered as Hetu. And once the Hetu is consumed, may it be unknowingly or unknowingly, the person will develop certain of the symptoms and even the signs. So certain of the questions we ask patients to get the symptoms as well as the signs, and then we prescribe the medicine after diagnosing the patient or after applying the basic principles, even if we are not able to diagnose. So ultimately the patient's second part, that is the Linga, Lakshana is nothing but signs and symptoms, and then the Aushadha is nothing but the medicine. So the whole clinical practice as such of any doctor, may it be Ayurveda or any subject can be clubbed under these three only, Hetu, Linga and Aushadha. And it is the legacy of Charaka and other authors to find out, or you can say to concentrate on these three, Hetu, Linga and Aushadha part. So these three are together called as three Sutri Ayurveda. Sutra refers to Tatra Suchanat, Sutranat cha, Artha Santatehe, Sutram. So basically Sutra refers to that thread, or you can say that small part of the thread or the small part of a bundle, so which is bound by a thread. So why it is called as thread or sutra? Once you open the thread, you are able to identify what is there in the bundle, or what is the exact information in the bundle. So if you are not able to open that sutra, then definitely you are not going to get the ultimate fruit of that actual bundle. So that's why the name is called as sutra. Here we have three things, that is Hetu, Linga and Aushadha. That's why it is called as three Sutri Ayurveda. So Ashtanga Hridayam, Sutrasthana, having 30 chapters, is wonderfully written based on these three only, Hetu, Linga and Aushadha. Which means if you are able to learn this Ashtanga Hridaya Sutrasthana in the best possible way, or by applying your maximum time in the first year, or you can say by giving your best, by giving your 100%, then definitely that is going to have a long time effect. That is going to have a long time positive effect on the career as well as the in clearing the other subjects of next year. So this information, that is three Sutri Ayurveda, and combining Sutrasthana part of comparing the Sutrasthana of Ashtanga Hridayam is done by a commentator called as Hemadri. So Hemadri has written Ayurveda Rasayana, one of the commentary of Ashtanga Hridayam, famously known by the author called as Hemadri. He has basically given, or you can say classified this into three skandha, that is Hetu, Linga and Aushadha skandha. How Sutrasthana is divided into three skandha, that we are going to see now. So basically the first chapter of Ashtanga Hridayam, Sutrasthana, if you see, it is called as Ayush Kamyam Adhyaya. So Ayush Kamyam Adhyaya basically deals with the you can say the beginner's class, or you can say crash course. As soon as you enter a new course, what are the basic things which you need to know before entering the actual subject? that can be taken as the Ayushkami Adhyaya. You won't get much information there. You'll only be getting certain of the enumeration, certain of the basic names or terminologies, and certain of the like basic things to be known as a physician, to be known by the physician. Nothing much. First chapter doesn't speak much of the content, but you can say it's an entire, you can say, like an index. So what you are going to study in this 5.5 years or the course of Ayurveda, it could be MD or any other science or any other degree. Ultimately, what are the things you are going to study? That can be called as the first chapter of Ayush Kamiya. It deals with the basic principles of the entire Ayurveda in a nutshell, not in detail. So that can be considered as the Sangraha Adhyaya. So after that, as you go to the second chapter, that is Dinacharya. Then third chapter is Ritucharya. Then you have Roganutpadaniyam and so on until the Rasabediyam of 10th chapter. So these chapters, that is 2nd to 10, if we analyze one by one, so Dinacharya and Ritucharya basically deals with what are the things to be done and what are the things not to be done to maintain the health. So these are the basic things which you already know. What are the procedures which we have to do based on daily basis, based on the regular routine, as well as based on the season. So that is what you have already studied or you are going to study in the chapters of Dinacharya and Ritucharya. One is based on the time, day, and one is based on the season. But the information is almost similar. Information in sense the intention. So the fourth chapter, if you see, Roganutpadaniya, is speaking of certain of the suppressible or non-suppressible vega. That is considered to be the urges, natural urges, what you usually get in English translation books. And this is the main content of this chapter. So fifth and sixth chapter basically deals with the properties of liquid diet and the solid diet which we usually consume, and certain of the medicinal drugs as well. What are the properties that you are going to see in fifth and sixth chapter? Fifth is dedicated to the liquid food called as Dravadravya Vignaniyam, and then sixth is dedicated to solid food. That is why it is called as Annaswarupa Adhyaya. Next we have the seventh chapter, Annaraksha. So once you know regarding the properties of the food, before consuming the food, you need to analyze whether it is devoid of any kind of poison or any kind of contamination. So what are the ways to analyze those? Everything is written in this chapter, Annaraksha Adhyaya. It could be simple contamination or it could be the severe way of identifying any poison as such. It could be done intentionally or non-intentionally. And the chapter ends with the other two parts along with the Ahara, that is Nidra and Abrahmacharya, being the Traya Upastamba. I'm not going into detail of each of them. We are just seeing what are the content. After that, we'll be coming back why we are seeing this. Eighth chapter deals with the Matra Shitiya, Matra plus Ashitiya. So how much quantity of food to be taken? Once you have prepared the food, you know that it is not contaminated, it is fit for consumption. How much should I take? That chapter, that information is given in this chapter of Matra Shitiyam. If I take more than required, what happens? If I don't take more than required, what happens? If I don't take required quantity, what are the negative impact? So those things you are going to say in the Matra Shitiyam. Then 9th and 10th chapters deals with the basic principles of pharmacology of Ayurveda. That is based on Rasa, Guna, Virya, Vipaka and Prabhava. How we are able to identify a drug to apply in a diet way, or you can say in a healthy way for a healthy person or in a diseased patient. So that is basically considered as pharmacology of Ayurveda. So Rasa, Guna, Virya, Vipaka and Prabhava. So all these five basic pharmacology as well as the other simple contents are mentioned in the context of the Dravyadi Vignaniyam and Rasabediyam. So if you analyze till here, that is from 2nd to 10th chapter, you can see that the author has given information which if we follow, we are going to remain healthy. This is the way which are usually taught in a college or in a textbook. But actually what is mentioned here is, if you do not follow, what happens, that is more important for us. Being a physician, when a patient comes to you, we are more interested in knowing what the person has done wrong rather than whether he has done it correctly. So for us, being a doctor, we need to analyze 2nd to 10th chapter as a hetu. In the sense, for example, one of the example like the simple Brahme Muhurte Uttishtet Swasto Rakshardam Aishaha. This is the starting sloka of the Dinacharya Adhyaya. So if I follow that, then definitely I am going to get the positive effect. But if I don't follow, then what happens? I am going to suffer from certain of the diseases of Kaphaja Vikara. If I wake up late, then definitely I am going to get some Kaphaja Vikara, and I may suffer from even Vataja Vikara, because Vata Kala, if I don't wake up at that particular point of time, then maybe my Mala Pravritti may be impacted, because of which I may suffer from the constipation related symptom in the near future. So in this way, so whatever line is being mentioned in chapter number 2 and until the 10th chapter each and everything can be considered as a hetu if I don't follow that. Milk is told to have such and such properties in the 5th chapter. So who should take that milk? By seeing the content, you should know that by seeing the properties. If I don't follow that, or if I say the person who is already having certain kaphaja vikar, if he consumes excessive amount of milk, then definitely he may suffer from diseases like Staulya. So in this way, each and everything, whatever is written in 2nd to 10th chapter, in a positive way, if you follow that, you can maintain the health. That is definitely right. But if you do not follow that, or if you are deviating from these principles, then definitely you are inviting one or the other disease, which means 2nd to 10th chapter is nothing but Hetu Skandha of Ayurveda. So if you are thorough with 2nd to 10th chapter, you will be knowing what questions to ask a patient when he comes to you with any of the symptom. If you are not sure of this 2nd to 10th chapter, like if you are not thorough with this, then definitely the part what you are going to miss in a clinical practice is the recurrence. You are going to give medicine to the patient, but recurrence could be there. Patient may come back to you after a week. Why? Because you are not identified the nidana, or you can say you are not identified the exact cause for the disease. That is because your base is weak. So that is why whenever you ask a patient, you should always recollect from Ashtanga Hridayam Sutrasthana 2nd to 10th chapter, each and every chapter. If you analyze and by practice, definitely your questionnaire will be very much strong. Definitely you will be able to analyze many of those minute causes. Even the expert physicians or other super specialty doctors will not touch those parts. Those things also can be identified by a simple BMS practitioner. That is why the patient will be more interested in showing you rather than going to a multi-specialty hospital. The reason is simple. You are able to identify the Hetu in a patient. So I hope now I am clear why Hetu Skandha is very much important. If you know this topic, then when you are reading each and every chapter, then definitely you will be analyzing it in a better way. So moving further, if you see 11th chapter and 12th chapter, so Doshadi Vignaniyam and Dosha Bediyam, which are usually taught in other subjects as well, like Sharira Kriya. So in Ashtanga Hridayam, why it is kept in the 11th and 12th order? Because till 10th he has completed the Hetu. Now the question is, what are the symptoms the patient is going to get, or what are the signs you are going to identify in that patient? So that can be considered as Lakshana. So chapter number 11 and 12 entirely depends or entirely describes the clinical skills of a patient, whether he is able to assess the symptom, whether he is able to assess the dosha which caused that symptom, whether the patient is able to assess the Roga Marga, whether the patient, the doctor, whether he is able to identify the Roga Marga, whether he is able to identify the type of Vyadhi. Why? Because everything is required for the treatment. So for that purpose, he has to identify that. So 11th and 12th chapter, if you know, then definitely in a clinic, you know what type of assessment you need to do. When a patient tells like I'm not able to see properly, then your mind may think from Majja point of view. Then the patient tells like I am having the you can say overweight. I am having excessive amount of fat tissue in my abdominal region. Then definitely you know which dhatu to think. When the patient tells like I am going on getting reduced weight, then you know which dosha you have to think. When a patient tells I am getting good sleep, but I am getting disturbed in the middle. When I sleep, it is fine, but I wake up in middle at least 2 to 3 times. You know which dosha to think about. When a patient tells like when I sleep until I wake up, until someone wakes me up, I don't get up. Then you know which dosha to think about. So when a patient tells like he has some issues with the skin, then you know which mala to think about. So in this way, if you know 11th and 12th chapter, that is Doshadi Vignaniyam and Dosha Bediya Adhyaya, you will be able to identify what is the dosha, dosha, bala. Basically dosha, mainly Roga Marga and all those things are also there. But basic dosha and dosha you will be able to identify from the basic knowledge of 11th and 12th chapter. Once you know which dosha is the cause, then you will be able to also analyze the subtype of the dosha. If it is Vata dosha, whether it is Pranavayu or whether it is Apanavayu, that also you will be able to know by combining the knowledge of 11th and 12th chapter. So that is why 11th and 12th chapter are considered to be of utmost importance. So as much importance as you give for Hetu Skandha, these two chapters itself or themselves are enough to take that much of weightage. So these two chapters also you need to be very much thorough. So this is considered to be Lakshana Skandha of Ayurveda, which Emadri has described in the commentary of 11th chapter. So Ashtanga Hridayam, Sutrasthana, 11th and 12th can be considered as Lakshana Skandha. So following that, we have the last part, that is the Aushadha Skandha. 13th chapter name itself is Doshopakramaniya. Upakrama refers to Chikitsa. Chikitsa refers to the treatment modality. So treatment starts from 13th. If you analyze the chapter names, everything is related to treatment from now on. 13th, 14th it is Dvividopakramaniya. Then you have Shodhanadikana Sangraya. We'll see one by one once. Let's see the 13th one. So general treatment principle of dosha. As soon as you know the lakshana of Vata, Pitta, Kapha and other dosha and dhatu, I mean mala, dhatu and mala. When you know the dosha which is involved, then which type of treatment to be given. So dosha upakramaniya deals with that. Then specifically, there are 6 types of treatment modalities in Ayurveda. Like if I tell you have to go for Abhyanga or simple oil massage, or if I tell you have to go for Udvartana, like powder will be poured over your body and then massage will be done in the opposite direction of the hair follicle. And sometimes I may tell you you are given a basti. So all my words are coming under any 6 of the Snehana, Svedana, Rukshana, Stambhana, then Langana and Brahmana. So these are the 6 treatment modalities of Ayurveda, which comprises the entire treatment modalities, whatever the physician practices. So these 6 also, the Ashtanga Hridayam, or you can say Vagbhata, yes, subclass, or you can say yes, simplified them into 2. One is called as Santarpana, another one is called as Apatarpana. So on this basis, yes, given a chapter name called as Dvividha Upakramaniya. Dvividha refers to 2, Upakrama refers to Chikitsa. So Santarpana and Apatarpana. So again, it is related to the treatment. Next, regarding the drugs. So a doctor, or you can say a student who is studying MBBS or any other science may not have a subject of deep pharmacology or drugs related information in the first year. But being a BMS student, you yourself are getting exposed to all the treatment modalities of Ayurveda itself in the first year. So starting from 15th chapter, you get the knowledge of drugs, which drugs to use. 15th chapter name is Shodhanadi Gana Sangraha. So Gana refers to group. So group of drugs which have a common function, like which are the drugs which are usually used for Vamana, which are used for Virechana, which are having the properties of reducing the kasa or the cough. So in this way, multiple groups are mentioned, 37 to be specific. So all those names you are going to study in the 15th chapter. So if you know 15th chapter very well, then 75% of your clinical practice is done with that, because the drugs itself are the Aushadha for us. Aushadha you can make on your own, or you can prescribe from the pharmacy, it is left to you. But knowing the Aushadha is important. 15th chapter gives you the entire information related to that. Then 16th onwards, it is related to the procedures as such. So before giving any major procedure, we usually go for Snehana Svedana. That is mentioned in 16th and 17th. They themselves could be the independent treatment modality as well. Snehana Svedana could be independent treatment modality as well. After that, you have the specific Shodhanadi procedures like Vamana, Virechana, then you have Basti, Nasya. So these things you are going to study in Ashtanga Hridayam in detail. So how to do these procedures, what are the precautions to take, prerequisites, main procedure, like after the procedure what to be done, all those things you are going to study in detail in these chapters up to 21st. Then from 22nd second onwards, you have some specific local treatments like Gandusha, Dhumapana related to the oral cavity and certain extent to the nasal cavity. Then certain treatments of eye you are going to study in 23, 24, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, 2 chapters related to the eye. Then you have the major surgical procedures as well, not the procedures as such. What are the instruments that are necessary in a surgical procedure? All those things you are going to study in the chapters of Yantra Vidhi and Shastra Vidhi. Yantra coming under 25th and Shastra coming under 26th chapter. So after that, we will be studying the process of Rakta Mokshana, how it is done. So that is also dealt in 27th chapter. Then how to extract a foreign body when you know that it is specifically located in a particular location. How to identify that, then how to remove that. All those things you are going to learn in Shalya Aharana Vidhi. Then Shastra Karma. What are the general norms a surgeon should follow? Or surgeon in the sense, not the one who just does incision and just extracts anything. Not like that. Surgeon is the one who or you can say Shalya Tantragna, is the one who follows any procedure just other than giving the oral medicine. Other than giving oral medicine and certain of the procedures, the entire procedures where he is going to use Yantra, Shastra and other things like Shara, Agni, everything is coming under Shastra Karma. So just don't limit your mind to Shastra being surgeon. Surgeon could be anything here. So when you do MD, like post-graduation, if you do MD in, or you can say post-graduation in Shalya Tantra or Shalakya Tantra related to ENT and even the eye, and related to Prasuti Tantra Stri Roga, that is basically compared with the OBG. So you are not going to get MD degree, there you are going to get MS. So all those 3 categories are coming under the surgeons like category. So Shalya Tantra refers to all of those procedures. So basic norms of the surgeon and certain of the prerequisites what a surgeon should have, all those things are dealt in the chapter of Shastra Karma Vidhi. Lastly, the chapter of the Sutrasthana ends with particular 2 procedures of the Shalya Tantra, that is Kshara Agni Karma. One is Shara Karma, another one is the Agni Karma, which are famously known all over the world. And you're going to study about them in detail, how to prepare the Shastra, Kshara and Agni, and how to actually do the procedure. What are the possible precautions and other complications that can occur during this procedure. Everything in detail you're going to study. So basically, my explanation for this much regarding these topics of last 17-18 chapters, that is 13 to 30, is to tell you that actually you are learning the treatment. Unlike other sciences where treatment is usually not dealt in the first year, you are exposed to the treatment modalities adopted in Ayurveda in the first year BMS itself. So now you understand that 13 to 30 is basically the Aushadha Skandha. So when you're reading a chapter of 16th, like Sneha Vidhi, keep in mind you are reading something related to treatment. When you're reading 29th, keep in mind you're reading something related to treatment, that is specifically Shastra Karma. When you are reading 11th, keep in mind you are going to learn something which you are going to communicate with the patient. So if you don't know 11th and 12th, you can't communicate with the patient. So, or you can't understand the patient. When you are learning 6th chapter, keep in mind you are going to analyze what are the possible harmful effects if the patient doesn't follow. That is Hetu. So when you analyze in this way and start reading Ashtanga Hridayam again, if you have already completed Ashtanga Hridayam, and very well, but still, if you come back and read from this point of view, definitely your way of understanding or way of giving stress to particular topic in Ashtanga Hridayam will be different, and you enjoy it in a better way because you are reading a clinical subject of Ashtanga Hridayam, specifically Sutrasthan. In other words, the Ashtanga of Ayurveda, Kaya, Bala, Grihottvanga, Shalya, Damsha, Jara, Vrishan, the entire 8 parts of Ayurveda is some or the other way covered in Sutrasthana, that too in Hetu, Linga and Aushadha Skandha wise, and first chapter being the Sangraha type of Adhyaya. So basically, Ashtanga Hridayam is nothing but a dream come true situation for a first BMS Ayurveda student. So I am not over exaggerating this thing. I am telling you, if you read BMS first year, that is specifically Ashtanga Hridayam in a, you can say, maximum, to the maximum effort, then definitely next 4.5 years or next MD or any course you do, you are going to have a ease in all the subjects of Ayurveda. Now that you have seen the entire Ashtanga Hridayam Sutrasthana in brief, the NCSM has kept only the first to 15th chapter, that is half of Sutrasthana for a first professional BMS scholar. And of course, the other chapters will be somewhere or the other will be covered in other subjects, maybe in 2nd, 3rd and 4th year, I mean the final year. So definitely Ashtanga Hridayam Sutrasthan is a worth readable material for a Ayurveda scholar, especially the one who is thinking from practical or clinical practice point of view. So if you like the content of our channel, kindly like, share and subscribe to the channel. Kindly ask your other Ayurveda loving friends or students to know about the channel and other playlists. Until next time, thank you.